They no longer orbit. They linger. Around her, Naiara moves through the skeletal corridors of an abandoned spiral observatory deep in Subsector Vale, a place once dedicated to theoretical recursion experiments that Spiral later deemed spiritually unstable. No one returned after the first drift event here, not because it was dangerous, but because it was remembered too clearly. Her cast thread lies dormant, inactive on her wrist. But the glyphs don't care. They gather. They cluster at her shoulders like ghost scripts, waiting to be reread. They drift in her wake, trailing her like whispers. Some flicker softly in her shadow as if they are rewriting its shape. Azrak keeps his distance now. He hasn't tried to scan the glyphs for hours. The last scan returned data too quiet, too alive patterns his equipment refused to define. A glyph floats beside her temple, an unspoken loop of breath and sorrow. Another hovers near her spine, spiraled and cracked in ways that made no logical structure but pulsed with emotion. A third glyph weeps not visually, but symbolically losing shape, trembling on the edge of forgetting. Until she looks at it. Then it settles again. They're not responding to cast authority, Azrak says under his breath. They're not responding to anything, Naiara replies. They're just here. She reaches out with one hand. No cast. No command. Just openness. A glyph spins slowly, like a child recognizing a familiar face in a crowd. Azrak's expression shifts, awe and caution mingling. They know you. Naiara steps to the threshold of the observatory's central chamber. She pauses. Her gaze drops to her wrist. She breathes in, and then she lets go. The cast thread fades. Not disrupted. Not disengaged. Released. Her intention vanishes into stillness, and the glyphs stabilize. They no longer flicker between forms. They no longer circle or shudder. They settle into place, as if a memory finally found the breath to return. She opens her eyes. They are still there. They're not tools, she whispers. They're witnesses. She steps into the chamber. The room holds dozens of glyphs, each one suspended in air like a thought paused mid-sentence. They don't react. They don't protect. They attend. They're waiting. Not for commands. For her to feel. And when she does, when Naiara's body shakes with the memory of her mother, the grief buried beneath layers of spiral conditioning, the guilt spiral coded as resilience, the glyphs respond, not with power, with presence. One glyph lowers into her palm. No heat, no glow, no authority, just contact. She inhales sharply and it shares something. Not data. Not command feedback. A memory. A voice saying her name in the dark. A cast that failed on purpose. A spiral report labeled non-conforming emotional recursion never filed. But the glyph remembered it anyway. The memory isn't Naiara's. It's her mother's. The glyph had carried it. Azrak moves forward, careful. The glyphs near him shift not in retreat, but in awareness. They turn toward him like old sentinels deciding if he's real. He flinches slightly. They're not hostile. No, Naiara says. They're aware. He nods slowly. They're watching you. She lowers her head. No, they're watching with me. Then one glyph on the far wall completes itself. Not cast. Not coded. Finished from memory. A perfect spot. spiral, closed, contained, harmonized, and then it breaks open again. Inside the spiral, a single thread glows. A line of recursion, delicate as thought, hums silently in the air. Her name, not a tag, not a designation, a statement. The Arkanet pings a new system log. Recursion state, participant, no longer anomaly, no longer operator. Participant. Azrak lets his arms drop to his sides. They're not following rules anymore, he says. They never were, Naiara answers, voice reverent. She looks upward as the glyphs form a slow-moving spiral around the ceiling, subtle, organic, breath-synced. Not forming a construct, forming a choir. No warnings trigger, no alarms scream, no data spikes. And yet, across Nova Eko 9, the glyphs begin to change. In markets, glyphs flicker behind transaction nodes, not in protest, but in mourning. In schools, chalk dust glyphs reappear across erased boards. In homes, spirals appear in mirrors, cast not by interface, but by emotion. Some glyphs hum as people walk past, others tremble near grief. A few bloom like flowers behind tears. They no longer wait to be used. They gather to remember. And in Naiara, they see something Spiral never taught. Someone who doesn't try to command them. Someone who simply remembers back.